Well, day 18 of my never-ending saga of the 3D print shop remodel. But don't lose hope. Don't lose hope. We're getting close. So what's on the agenda for today? Watch, I'll show you. Welcome to 3D Accuracy, where I'll talk about 3D printing, 3D product design, and 3D injection and die-cast mold design. Well, I've finished washing everything. All the walls, the ceiling, everything is done. Everything is completely washed and wiped down, so the shop is clean. Above the doors over there, I got that the other evening after I opened up the shop. And so everything is ready for the next step. And that is, today we're gonna patch all these little holes. I got a whole bunch of them. You can see all over the place along this back wall where there was some built-in cabinets at one time, which I tore out because they were poorly done and I didn't like them, so I yanked them out of here. So I'm going to patch all the holes. I'm going to seal the crack along the bottom with the drywall, going to caulk around the doors to seal that. I also have to repair a couple of damaged places, one up there and one down here, almost in the same exact spot. And I felt them and they're soft. Nothing that I can just fill with filler. So what I'm gonna have to do is cut a small section out and patch in some drywall. And I think I have drywall around here to do it. I just gotta check and see what the thickness is after I cut a piece out. What I don't understand is, how does one of those holes in the drywall end up high where I have to get on the ladder to do it, and the other one is down on the floor where I got to get down on my hands and knees to fix it? Why don't those sort of things ever happen right at the right level, right in front of me, you know, right here, where I can just go up and I can open up the wall and I can put in a new piece and patch it nice and easy without having to up and down, up and down, up and down, or get down on my hands and knees and fix it. I don't know why that happens. Somebody tell me, leave a comment. Somebody tell me, why does this kind of stuff happen? I got another one, look at this. So somebody tell me, how does this happen? Look at all those little tiny holes in the ceiling. I'm like, what the heck is going on? Somebody thinking, okay, if I put enough holes in there, eventually I'll find a 2x4. Look at that. Why do people do that kind of stuff? I don't know. If anybody can tell me how that kind of stuff happens, leave a comment below. I'd like to hear your story. Because I don't get it. Why do people do that kind of thing? I'm like, you know, there's tools out there for finding 2x4s. You can scan the walls with these little tools. I've never used one, but you know what my father taught me years ago? Tap the wall with your knuckles. You can hear where the 2x4 is behind the drywall if you listen to it. Where there's no 2x4, it's hollow like a drum. And then you get over to the 2x4 and it's tight. You can tell there's a 2x4 there. So I don't know what somebody was fishing for, but I got to get up there and patch all those holes and then touch up the paint. Okay, so I won't bore you with watching me push, you know, filler into all these little holes and cracks today. I'm just going to go ahead and do a before and after. I'll get that done, and then when it's finished, I'll show you what it all looks like. Okay, I've got work to do. Better get to it. Hey, check this out. All the little holes in the ceiling. Gone. There were more over here also, around this bracket that holds up the folding door, and I got those all patched up also, and got all the holes in the wall patched here down this back wall, which is where the majority of them were because of those cabinets that were up here. I got all of those patched, And right now I'm working on those two spots where the drywall got punched in. And I've got to cut that back until I get to a clean surface. Although on the bottom down here, there's a 2x4 that runs there. So I can't cut too much farther. What I'm going to do, you can see on this one up here, I have these little wedges. You see, I've got a bunch of these wedges that I picked up at the store. And what I'll do is I'll cut those off to the proper length and get that inside behind the wall. They're too long, so I can't get them in. I got to cut them shorter. And then I'll run a screw through the drywall into the little piece of wood. I'll run one here, one on this side, one on that side. And then I'll cut a fresh piece of drywall that fits in the hole and then screw it to that little board that goes across there just to hold it in place. It's, you know, that being way up there, I don't think it's ever going to see any pressure from anything that it's critical. This one down here would be more likely to take a hit from something down at this level. But I'll put a couple pieces of the wood in there and then screw them in place. And I do have some drywall, the proper size, so I'll cut a couple of pieces of that, fit it in the openings, screw it in, and then all I have to do is spackle around it and seal it up and give it a little texture later. I've got one other spot I need to put some texture on, and then ready to paint. After I go around the bottom and close up the gaps there, take care of the imperfections and caulk around the doors. So I still have a few things to do, but I wanted to get this done because it's one of those projects. I want to get this one out of my hair and move on. Okay, back to it. Okay, this is cool. Check this out. You can see I have the two little boards up in the hole. So that spans across. You can see the 4 screws, and I recessed them a little bit, and I'll cover those over with spackles. You don't see them. Now I just have to shape a piece and get it in there, and then screw it to the little boards, and we're all set. Now down on the bottom, I had a little bit of a different situation because I have a 2x4 right here. It's right about here, the edge of the 2x4. So I couldn't put the boards this way and get a screw in there. So I went this direction instead. And what I did was I used the very small end, like this here, the thin edge, and I jammed it down between the drywall and the 2x4 that's back here behind it, because there's not enough to get a screw in that direction either. So I let the whole thing go up inside. I was able to get it up, and then I pushed it down between the 2x4 and the back of the drywall, and then I ran some screws in to hold it in place, and that worked really well. So this is nice and strong. I can go ahead, cut a piece, and drill it into those boards and then patch it. Now the only thing I do want to do is take a screwdriver, and you can see it's still a little crumbly here. I wasn't able to get a real good cut, but I thought this is better to have this than not. So what I want to do is pick a little bit of this out with a screwdriver so that there's not a bump. I don't know if you can tell, but it's pushing out a little bit, and I want this to go back. I'd rather have it be a recess that I can fill with the spackle than for it to be a bump on there. So I'm just going to clean that out, and then I'll put some spackle in here on this bottom edge before I put the piece in, so I'm sure that there's spackle behind it and it grips well. So that should work. You know, it's not a high work area of any sorts, so it's, you know, once the pieces are in there and it's all patched up and painted, I think it'll be good. Okay, on to the next step. Okay, traced a couple of patterns from the holes on the wall and then transferred those over to the piece of drywall. Now all I have to do is cut it out. For those of you who are not aware, this lavender colored drywall is good for use in a damp area, like in a kitchen or bathroom, that sort of thing. I just happen to have a piece of it, and I'm going to use it to patch these 2 holes. All right, here's the final results. I have the piece screwed in and it worked just the way I wanted it to. Now you'll notice there's a gap around here, but I want that gap because I want to force caulk or you know, some of the spackling compound. I want to force that in there and seal that all up nicely. You'll also notice I put the 2 screws up high on this piece of drywall, and that's because the board that I put behind it, the thin edge is facing the bottom. If you recall, it was very thin, and I didn't want to risk putting it in the center where it was too thin and cracking that piece of wood behind there. So I put it up higher because all it has to do is hold it in place. It's not going anywhere. It's just like the rest of the drywall. So I put them up higher where the wood behind there was a little bit thicker so that I wouldn't split the wood, and I slowly put the screws in. I didn't just, you know, go guns all out and drive them in there hard. And that's how it looks. And that's the one upstairs on the top of the wall. You can see there's a gap around that one as well. And that way I can go in there and spackle that all up, clean it up, and it'll look good. So I'm going to do that and then move on to the next project. Well, and just like that, it's all done. So, can you tell where it was? Where were the 2 holes, huh? Where did those 2 holes go? Oh, you can see the spackle is still a little damp there, isn't it? So you can tell where it was. It's a little different color. But it looks really good. Turned out nicely. And the one down on the bottom, there it is right there. So that was really worked out well. I'm pleased with that. Okay, so now that's cleaned up. Now I've got to go around the bottom and seal the little cracks around the bottom edge between the drywall and the cement. In some places they did a kind of a shoddy job and there's cracks and holes, and I want to smooth that all out, clean that all up before it gets painted. So that's the next thing to do. And then later on this evening, I got to pop the doors open when it cools down. And there's like I mentioned earlier, a big crack around the door between the drywall and the frame. So I got to fill that on both doors. And then after I do that, I think we're ready to paint. So, okay, back at it. Well, rain delay. Always something. I ran out of the spackling compound. Let me show you what I have. I'm using this stuff to fill all the cracks, and I emptied this container working on it, and I had 2 other ones, the exact same thing and then something slightly different. Anyway, both of those are no good. I've had them for a while and I opened them up and they're unusable. So anyway, I got part of it completed. You see, I've filled in the crack along the bottom by the drywall where it hits the concrete, and I've smoothed that out, made it all the way to the back and across the back here, all the way over to right here where my little utility knife is, and I ran out. And so I can't finish this, I can't finish the other side of the wall, I can't finish around the roll-up doors, and you can see there's a big crack in here where the drywall doesn't hit the frame. So I have to seal all of that before I can paint. I want to close that up. And that's all the way around both doors. So, rain delay. Now I got to have dinner and then run over to Lowe's and get some more stuff. And I may work a little bit yet tonight, and I may not. I'll see how I feel when I get back. But anyway, that's part of the project. I decided to take advantage of the cool evening air and work into the night. Not always an easy thing to do, but the fact that my wife was together with me taking videos made the job much easier to deal with. Here I'm cleaning away all the spider webs in preparation for painting and taking all the loose caulk and spackle out of the crack so I can put new spackle in.
Not an easy job to get the new spackle in place because the drywall wasn't flush with the framing on the outside around the roll-up door. But we do the best we can. Would have been much easier to do if the rail wasn't there for the roll-up door, but I was in no mood to take it down and get it out of the way just to make the spackling a little bit easier. Didn't have that much to do, so I just forged ahead and got it done. The spackle was a little wetter than I would have preferred. It was pre-mixed in the container, and it was a little bit difficult to get it to stay in place. I had to go over it several times to kind of force it down into the crack and try to keep it from running back out. It's always fun having my wife help me. I never know what she's taking of the video until afterwards, and I go to edit it and I see what I have to work with. She's not a professional, but neither am I, so we just do the best we can and try to make the videos interesting. But we got it done, and so that's all that counts. I just like it that she's out there with me doing this stuff. Of course, it's getting late. It's well after midnight by now. And I can tell she's getting tired. It's been a long day for both of us. In fact, it's been a couple of long days. We've actually did this part of the project over a couple of days and did as much as we could at a time to get it all done.
This drywall is so uneven.
So I finally decided she had enough.
Well, good morning. It's about 11:45 Saturday morning. Last night I went to Lowe's, picked up a bucket of spackle, a 1-gallon bucket. I got back here, a little bit before 10 o'clock, came back out in the shop and decided with the cool weather in the evening, I wanted to get the doors finished. So I opened up, it was nice and cool. I worked until 1:15 in the morning this morning, and got the doors finished around the doors. I got all that caulked and sealed so that it's all ready for paint. So anyway, I've got a little bit more spackling to do along the baseboard, the bottom of the drywall, and where it meets the cement. I need to close up those cracks and then seal caulk around the doors, the regular doors that go outside, and get that done. And then I think we're ready to paint. I got a little bit of door repair I need to do to this back door here, but I'll check that out and see what it's like. So anyway, I'll give you a quick look. This is the spackling compound that I got. Same stuff as I had before, just in a little different bucket. All I have to do is finish off this border around here, across the back and down the other side of the van, and then pretty close to paint. This door I've got to look at, this back door. I noticed one thing. It moves in and out. It's not securely fastened to the 2x4, which I believe there should be in the wall here behind it, in the frame. So what I'm going to do is later on this evening when it cools down and I open the shop, I'm going to pull a couple of screws. Okay, it's been a long day. Right now it's 9:30 in the evening on Saturday. Yeah, it's still Saturday. I have all the caulking, all the spackling done around the whole shop. Everything's ready for paint. The only thing I have to do is along this edge, around this door and the other door over there, I have to caulk this crack. And then I'm ready to paint the walls. Everything is ready. Now, I talked about earlier on the video today or yesterday, I don't remember, a couple days ago, about how this door is sagging and I had to fix this door. And I was suspicious that these screws were short, because this fascia board is not a 2x4. It's thin, and it should be attached to the 2x4 behind it. Well, I noticed this whole fascia board moves from the weight of the door. It's not stable. So I pulled a screw, and look at what I found. This little tiny piece of nothing screw that barely goes through this fascia board, and I'm sure it does not go through the 2x4, you know, for the framing, the wall framing behind it. So I'm gonna go in there with one of these and see if it doesn't help. And if I can get this in there, this is I believe this is an 8, a number 8 screw. This is a number 10. And it should be able to go in there okay. The head's not that much difference, so I think it'll work. So I'm gonna drive this screw in there and see if I can't pull the door out. And if this works, I'm gonna replace all the screws on the whole thing all the way top to bottom so that the door is good. So let me get my handy dandy drill here and see. Let's see if I can do this. I'm at a goofy angle. What I really need is my step stool over here so I can get a better shot at it. Okay, let me get this. That way I can get more push. Now there's a trick that you can do also. If a screw gives you a hard time getting it into the wood, don't try to force it, because you won't get it. You'll just chew the head of the screw up. So what I do is I'll pull the screw and I'll take a little dishwashing soap and I'll just put it on the threads of the screw and then drive that screw in there. It goes much easier. So let me see if I can get it. I may or may not. I may have to pull it back out and get some dish soap, but I want to get I'm too close. Let me back up a little bit so that I can lean into this screw and get it in there. Oh, I could see the door. Look at how tight it is. It moved it right up. Moved it right up. One screw and the whole thing lifted. So I'm just going to go ahead and pull the other screws one at a time. Let me go over here and get a couple more of these number 10 3-inch long screws, and I think we just fixed the door for cheap and easy and quick. That's a good thing. I like that. See, I've got some of these number 10 3-inch wood screws. So let's drive a couple of these babies in there. And the old screws, of course, will keep, because there's always something I can use them for. All right. Boy, as soon as that screw went in, I could feel and see that fascia board just pick up. All right, let's throw this one on the desk over there. Let's drive another one in. Oh, that's great. Come on, go. Bingo. They're in the 2x4 behind now, I guarantee it. Now, the only thing I don't know is if the locks are going to line up. So, because the door has shifted now, the locks may not line up, and I may need to adjust the brackets down there.
Oh, that is so much better. So much better. Okay, now let's try closing the door and see what happens. Anybody willing to take any bets? I'll bet you this closes perfectly without rubbing it all. Oh, look at that. How easy is that? Piece of cake. We fixed the door alignment problem just like that. Take out these shitty little piece of garbage screws. I don't know why anybody in their right mind would think that this would work. And replace it with some nice big beefy screws, and that does the job. So I'm going to pull the screws, even though it's probably not 100% necessary. I'm going to pull the screws on the other brackets and put in long ones, and I'll never have to worry about this door again.
How's that, baby? Now, you think so? I bet you we fixed that one with just replacing the screws also.
Okay.
See, for here in the door, that's not a problem. You know, this is okay because it gets it. But these, you gotta have longer screws. Okay, those I don't have to do. Do you think I should? Yes. Okay, that's the kind of answer I need to hear. Ooh, squeaky, right? Nice and tight. There we go. Yeah, I'm not sure if that made me hit. May not be 2x4 behind it. That's all right. This doesn't hurt to have long screws. See, that's it, 2x4, see? All right.
I hope you really enjoyed this video. If you're ever in need of 3D product design, 3D injection mold design, 3D die-cast mold design, or 3D printed prototypes or production parts, please feel free to contact me. You can find contact information in the video description. I look forward to hearing from you and to being of service to you. Thank you for watching. As always, I appreciate it. See you on 3D Accuracy's next video.